And we're excited to hear from our 4 head coaches of our fall sports. To kick it off today, we're going to start with cross country. Already been 6 years, entering his 6th year, our head coach, Bryan Berryhill.
Can't believe it's already fall media day. This last year has flown by, but it's been a great year for cowboy and cowgirl athletics across the board. I am just entering my 6th year, so I don't have the historical perspective that some people in this room do, but there is Mr. Kevin McKinney, who I think he's been here a year or two longer than me, and I'm going to steal a quote of yours, Kevin, if that's okay. No? So Kevin says, we've experienced some great seasons through the years. I think back to 1987 when men's basketball advanced to the Sweet 16, followed by football winning conference championships the next fall. But in all my years at Wyoming, I don't believe we've experienced the depth of success across all of our programs, both athletically and academically, that we have the past 10 months. It's been a remarkable year, individually and from a team standpoint. So, when you have somebody like Kevin McKinney, who's been here that long, saying that says a lot about what the administration has done for the coaches and what the coaches are doing with their student athletes and what the whole state and the university is doing to support us. So we appreciate everything, and as I'm talking, I'm looking over at this high altitude performance center, which is going to be an amazing building. I think it's going to benefit all sports programs a little bit differently. When I talk from a track and cross country perspective, they're building what they're calling the altitude control room in there, which it's going to allow us to simulate training at sea level. It's a glass room that you can pressurize and take it down to sea level. And that right there is going to set us apart from any other program in the nation. I do not believe there's another one out there. So that's something we're really going to try to build on out of that high altitude performance center from a cross country and distance standpoint. Want to introduce the coaches I have here. Start with Coach Howe, who's my associate head coach for track and field and works with our jumpers, and just led Scott Carter to a 3rd place finish at the NCAA Championships, which I believe is the highest finish in the last 16 years for a Cowboy at the NCAA Championships. So doing a great job. Coach Clower, who's associate head coach for cross country and track and field, and going to be in charge of our women's cross country and long distance runners this year. Coach Henderson's over there. She's our director of operations, and a very good one at that, and also works with our cowgirl middle distance runners. And then the newest addition we hired at the end of June, Scott Dahlberg. He's joining us from Colorado State, so just we'll try not to hold that against him. I told him no green for 3 years before you earn your brown and gold stripes, so we're going to hold him to it. So if anybody sees him wearing green, make sure you hold him to that. But Scott's going to work with our men's cross country team and our men's distance runners moving forward. So really excited about that. And when we look at our teams this year, on the women's side, we had some big shoes to fill. We lost Audra De Stefano, who just got announced as the Mountain West Scholar Athlete of the Year, and I think that should tell you all about her, not just as an athlete, but as a person and a student. She is going to be a tough leader for us to replace, but we feel really good about Lauren Hamilton and Carrie White coming back to try to fill those shoes. And then behind those two, I think we have 4 to 6 athletes that showed a lot of maturity towards the end of the season last year. So hopefully they continue to grow and had a good summer of training. And I think Coach Clower is going to do a great job leading that group. And going over to the men, like I say, really excited to get Scott up here from Colorado State. They've done some great things down there the last 5 years on their distance side, and he's going to bring that success up to here. And we got some good athletes there for him to work with. We only graduated 1 guy last year, and we are going to redshirt Jonah Henry this year, who was our leader last year. We're going to try to make a big run in 2018. We think we got a special group of athletes on the team this year that if we let mature 1 more year and throw Jonah in there, we might be able to make a run at the NCAAs in the top 25 finish. No pressure, Scott. No, really excited about the year and the future of our program, but also just excited about the future of the whole athletics department. I think things are really moving in a good direction, and just want to wish all the coaches in here the best of luck this coming season, and go Cowboys. And Cowboys.
Well, because we're having media day a little early this year, Pete Quadrado, our head soccer coach, is unavailable, but we've got a great pinch hitter and associate head coach, Bob Casper, for men's or women's soccer. Thank you.
Well, off to a good start. Our captains told me they're going to heckle me on the way up, so made it through that pretty well. Thank them for showing up. We have our 3 captains here, seniors, Alicia Bass, Claire Parker, Georgia Roundtree, and one of our other assistant coaches, Matt Callaway, is with me as well. As we get ready for the fall 2017 season, I think we've taken a lot of time as coaches to reflect on what we've been doing. We've had 3 consecutive seasons with 10-plus wins. And we've also had 4 consecutive seasons of qualifying for the Mountain West Conference Tournament. So when we set our sights on 2017, obviously the waters are calm at the moment. The waves are going to hit pretty soon, but we want to ride those successes. I think they've served us well. I think they've put us in a position to compete for a championship. So it's a long process. You get 20 games set a year. One of those will be a scrimmage. So you're winning 10 or more of those. It really does turn into some good results for the team on the field. Academically speaking, too, they've been a super motivated group. As Coach Berryhill noted, for us, even academically, it's about keeping up with the Joneses in our own department. The young men and women wearing brown and gold here do a really nice job. So great, we hover around a 3.4 team grade point average, and we struggle to crack that top spot within our department at that. So I think even departmentally and on the field and court, they keep us competitive. So we enjoy that. I think we'll be bolstered. We have 5 seniors this year. Truly all 5 are leaders for us. We have Alicia Bass, as I noted, obviously Georgia, Claire. In addition to them, we have Tristan Terrell and Summer Holly. The neat thing about this group is they've grown over their time. If you hear about our streaks, like I said, 3 and 4 years, they were either here at the infancy or just before some of those streaks had started. So they've been a huge part of building this program. I think some work has obviously been done before we got here, but they've taken it to a very, very, very consistent level. So kind of all of our pressure is internal, and that's a great place to be. I think we can control our future this fall. Some key matchups, we get to go down, play in Waco, play against Baylor this year. That'll be really exciting. We put basically, I think it's over the last 4 years, we're 2-1 against Big 12 opponents. So we're excited about that. We get to put that record on the line. And you guys better make that come true and be a good boy for us. Then we'll head out and play Kentucky, so that's nice to see a different team, see a good level of competition, and maybe those are teams that are playing at a level we may see if we are fortunate enough to get into the NCAA tournament. Optimistic too, the Mountain West has been a toss-up the last few years. We've had 3 different conference champions over the last years of that tournament, so I think that gives us a lot of hope. I think we've put our name in the hat for that. Ultimately, we've got to be a top 16 out of 12, get to the tournament, and we know at that point anything can happen. So our team's motivated. We have a team email thread. Even though they don't always stay on top of it, they submit their emails like 3 days late, so I don't know if that's a good sign, but we hear a lot of talk about success and winning and getting that conference tournament from our own players. So as a coach, that's great. We don't have to do that motivational piece. We can look at the X's and O's for them. And then lastly, I'll just say, we really enjoy the home crowd. We have some really key conference games at home this year. We play San Jose State, Utah State, Boise State. Those are teams that have joined us in the top 6. And we love our home field advantage. It truly is. And if you really want to know how I know that, we played Utah Valley at home. They were kind of in the receiving boats. We scored with, I don't know, seconds or whatever on the clock. And when you go back and look at the video and you see 7'6" Phil Willie over there jumping up and down, cheering, you're a basketball guy, you know you've done something right. So we really enjoy our home confines, and I think it's going to set up well for us this year. So any questions? Don't think so, but good. All right, thank you.
Next up is women's volleyball. Of course, the Mountain West had a very, very competitive year last year in women's volleyball, and the Cowgirls are right in the midst of it. Let's talk about our volleyball team head coach, Chad Callahan.
I'll keep this brief. Coach Legursky told me I shouldn't say very much, so when the unofficial governor gives you advice, you take it and you run with it. Let me take a second here to introduce our staff. I stood up here last year and said for 4 seasons we had some great continuity and kept our entire staff together. This is the first year of year 5 where we've had some changeover. Brian Nesselhuff has joined us and has been doing a fantastic job for us. Our mainstay the whole time, who's put up with me now for over 4 years, is Dan Georgalis. I don't know how he does it, but he has managed to stay on. I'm not sure if he just can't find another job, or, but we're really excited to have him here. He's done a tremendous job for us, and it's been fun to see him grow and mature. Schedule-wise, we've gone out, we've tried to put a tough one together again, tried to make sure that we challenge, that we put ourselves in a position for a NCAA tournament appearance. I've had a couple of you ask me if the goals have changed. I don't think the goals change just because the people do. We expect to be competitive. We expect to go out and put forth great effort every night. Hopefully we win these matches that we've put on the schedule. And if we do, we're putting ourselves in a position where we can do something that hadn't been done here in a long time, and that's make it to that NCAA tournament. So I would like to tell you a lot about our team, but we got a lot of question marks, and you're not going to know any of the names when I say them anyway. We played Ohio State and beat them 2 seasons ago. We had Laura Beach, Courtney Chacon, Kayla Slofkus, Bridget Shanahan, Kayla Henderson, Allison Waldvogels. They were all starters on that team. They are all gone. We had one young lady who was scared to death in that match named Reed Copeland. She is the only returner that we have starting right now. So a lot of fresh faces. For me personally, that's exciting. I love the challenge. I love the opportunity to go out and compete, see which of these young ladies decides to step up and accept this challenge. But I think at the end of the year, if all things go well, we hopefully look back and go, the pieces of this puzzle fit together better than they have in the past, even though some of you may not know the names. And that's really all I have right now. We'll leave it at that, and hopefully in December you see a lot of smiles from us. So go Pokes!
While we're waiting for Coach Bohl to come from practice, and the Cowboys started practice this morning, I'll talk a little bit about the rest of the day for media. We will do interviews in the indoor this year, just to avoid the construction noise out in the field. So we'll be doing interviews from 1 to 2 in the indoor. In terms of our staff, I'm just going to introduce our staff for media relations for any of the new media members. I'll start with Diane Dodson. Diane, where are you? Diane might have taken off. There she is. There she is in the back. So if you need have any credential questions, Diane can help you with credentials. Amy Dambro, who is sitting right back here. Amy's going to work with women's basketball and tennis again. Nick Seaman, who's over here to your right, will work with football and men's basketball. Nate Lake will work with our track programs throughout the whole year and also help us with football. Kyle Clark. Kyle? Where's Kyle? Kyle will work with soccer, and he'll also work with swimming and diving and golf teams. Lincoln Manch, Lincoln right there in the back. Lincoln's going to work with volleyball again, wrestling, and he'll also work with golf. So that's our staff. If you have any questions regarding any of those sports, we're glad to help you. In terms of practice policies for football this year, Cowboys will be practicing primarily in the mornings. So if you want to come to practice, please contact either Nick or myself, and we will let you know when practice is starting. Media can attend the first 30 minutes of practice, shoot videos, shoot photos. So let us know if you're going to come to practice. At this time, I'm going to introduce 2016 Mountain West Conference Coach of the Year, Craig Bohl.
Thanks very much, Tim. Appreciate that. I can tell you this, we're real focused on 17, and our players have had a great summer. There's a lot out there for us. There's a lot of challenges as well, but it's as deep a football team as what we've had since I've been our head coach. Certainly there's going to be some positions that we have some question marks on, but then there's other places where we're significantly more experienced. So we're really excited. Our coaches are excited. Our players have a great bounce in their step. We've had a full morning already. I thought we had a really crisp practice for a first day of practice. We're making strides. I know the first game's not too far away, so at this time I'll be more than happy to answer any questions anybody might have. Pretty quiet. Go ahead, Robert.
Can you sum up your first day? I mean, it's just you're not in pads yet, but what did you like? Any concerns? How would you sum up the first day?
Further along for a first day, what I did see was more guys that have an understanding of what they're doing. Certainly, more team camaraderie, better leadership, and all those things are X factors that I know a lot of coaches will talk about, but I haven't talked about that a whole lot before. And so, a different mentality there. There was a couple players that probably weren't able to go completely full speed. Sid Malalu's got a little bit of a back issue, but C.J. Johnson's coming back from a bout of mononucleosis, but he was able to get through some things. Outside of that, though, I thought Josh was really sharp at the quarterback position or receivers. There's a whole bunch of new young players that are out there, but they move around fairly well. Biggest difference I noticed was our defense as far as their alignments, ability to get off and run, speed, all those things. So we're further along there. I was pleased. I worked with our punter, Tim Zaleski, and that's a big spot with Ethan Wood being gone. I worked with him early this morning and really thought that he was striking the ball well, and Cooper's doing a good job with snapping. I think we're in good shape with Donovan at snapper, so that the outlying parts of the special teams are good. And so I was really pleased. And then the other thing that we did do today, we spent more time with our freshmen than what we typically do. Tim will tell you that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit tardy today. We extended practice for our freshmen and got our upperclassmen off the field a little bit more. And this, I think, is an excellent group of freshman football players. And I looked them in the eye and said, this group hang together is going to redefine Cowboy football. I mean, I think they're an outstanding group collectively. And so as coaches, we had a chance to coach those guys up a little bit more as well. So those were some of my observations from practice. I thought it was a really good first start.
Coach, is there any special formula for carrying the success you had last year into this year?
Mm-hmm. Well, confidence certainly does make a difference. Anytime you have success, that instills confidence, and it also raises the bar. I can tell you, though, we have unfinished business. I mean, the last game we played out here, we lost. The last bowl game that we played in, we lost. Now, we were competitive, but there's got to be a time when we change from being competitive to where you become dominant, and that's another mountain to climb. But these guys are hungry, and I was encouraged to find the balance of saying, okay, are you confident? Are you hungry? Is there any complacency, which I have not seen? And so there's a lot out there for us. I can tell you our non-conference schedule is extremely competitive, and also the conference is extremely competitive. So there are a lot of good football teams in there, and I think we're one of them.
Coach, with that freshman class, is there an ideal number that you would maybe like to see play in their first year, and any maybe that jump out right away at you?
The question was, with the freshman class, is there an ideal number? That's always kind of a moving target. Really what we'd like to do is redshirt a great majority of those guys. Typically, the decisions that are made on this football team right now to win. And whether we play a freshman or not usually is determined by this criteria. One, do we have a positional need? Does the young man have the physical skills to go out there and compete? And then the third component is, does he have the emotional maturity? Sometimes the other two factors are there. And then with freshman classes and being away from home, sometimes those things, even though their body's there, maybe they physically won't be. Typically, if we get down to 3 or 4, I think we're really doing well. There's a balance there between excellent recruiting and also development of a program. So when I say 3 to 4, it's kind of where we're at. Which 3 to 4? That's like going to the Kentucky Derby to figure out which ones.
Coach, with the wide receiver core leaving last year, who are you excited about coming in this year, and what looks good with Josh's perspective throwing to guys like James Price and so on?
Right. Questions concerning our wide receiver group, and that's, we knew coming in last year the number of players who touched the football were all returning, and particularly that receiving group was outstanding. And there's a certain comfort that Josh had, particularly with Tanner Gentry. And to say that that's just replaced right now, that would be less than honest. I can tell you there's an emerging group, though. You know, Clester Johnson, CJ did some really good things in the spring. Austin Conway is an exceptional, explosive receiver. James Price is another one. You nailed those three guys. Another guy that did not redshirt last year was John O'Qualley. And so those guys are guys that we're going to be counting on. Coach Grant has worked extensively with them. They all know it's their time. Sometimes as an underclassman, when you know you've got an experienced player like Tanner out there, you just kind of take a step back, and you're not seeing that with this group. And Josh has spent a great deal of time throwing the ball to those guys this summer, and I've been really pleased that today I just saw a different attitude. Yeah, I did. I saw a different attitude with Josh. Randy Wilniak will tell you, I don't know if Randy's in the audience, when you're a quarterback and you have played and then you step in the huddle and you've gone through, it's his football team. And so I think that there's some chemistry there between our wide receivers and Josh we're encouraged about. Other questions?
Coach, with a few players being tagged as Mountain West Players of the Year or All Conference, what can you say about those guys, as in Logan Wilson, someone that's from the Cowboy State, and the potential he has this year?
The questions concerning the players that have been tabbed as preseason, we've had more. I know, in the Mountain West meeting, I don't know when the last time that the Cowboys have had an offensive player, preseason offensive player of the year, and preseason defensive player of the year. I think that speaks well to some of our depth, and then certainly Logan. Logan is a guy that played corner in high school, and he's 6'2+, and he's almost 240 pounds and still runs like the wind. He's got a big upside. It also sends a message, between Logan and Josh and some of these other players that are from the state, that we have an opportunity. Everybody on the outside will say, well, you're a high school player in the state of Wyoming, and you may be from a small community and you don't have an opportunity to play big-time football. Well, I think those guys have dispelled that, and Logan is a prime example of that, along with Josh.
Does the emergence of guys like Josh Allen, like Logan Wilson, like an Andrew Winger, does that give you as a coaching staff confidence, knowing that you find these blue-collar kids maybe from smaller towns that maybe were overlooked by bigger colleges and things like that? Does that give you a chip on your shoulder as a coaching staff, knowing what you're doing is the right thing and it's paying off?
Now, the question concerning is evaluation of players, and certainly none of those guys had any recruiting stars, and so the recruiting guys that are out there, it's probably a dagger in their heart. We go by what we see, and the names that you just mentioned were guys who we did a lot of research on, and certainly there's some good fortune there. But that mantra of playing Cowboy tough football and following the Wyoming profile, we have not wavered off our vision on what kind of guy we're looking for, and it's encouraging to see those guys experience not only success here, but they're getting recognized nationally, and I think it sends a message to a lot of the other guys that are out there that just because I may not be recruited by every Power 5 school, I still have an opportunity to play big-time football and go to a school like the University of Wyoming, where we're going to develop them, we're going to get bigger, stronger, and faster, and coach them up.
Coach, you go off that recruiting aspect, 2 of your players in the NFL draft this year. Can you just speak about how exciting that is as a coach to see those players move on to the next level?
The questions concerning the NFL players, and certainly Bryan Berryhill and Chase Roulier, I know that beyond those 2 guys drafted, there's a whole host of other guys that have signed free agents, and we've gotten some feedback on between Tanner and some of the other guys. Pro Day was off the chart, the number of personnel from the NFL squads that were here. It's an indication of where our program is going. However, we want to be real clear. Our goal is to do everything we can to ready these guys get their degree, to model really good character for them to grow up, become fathers and husbands, and go out and work in the real world and have a meaningful degree that's going to do something. But certainly all these young men, they have a dream to play in the NFL, and we encourage that. And it sends a message to all our other players that, you come to Wyoming and you get an opportunity to play in the NFL because you're going to get looked at. And the proof's in the pudding with the guys that are having an opportunity to make teams right now.
Coach, Coach, with the change in schedule for fall camp and no two-a-days anymore, have you gotten a sense of whether players have embraced that, or if they kind of like starting early, not having two-a-days,
Right.
or what they think of the
Questions
change?
concerning two-a-days, and that's a hot topic all across the country. Their vote doesn't count on this one. Well, it does. You know what, we have talked to them all along that this is going to be, we're going to use up every 29 of those opportunities. And so we have to be smart with what we ask them to do and how we practice. Certainly, times have changed from when I was a player and you did two-a-days every day, and it was the last man standing that played. With the concussion protocol and just making sure that our guys are seasoned and ready to go and keep their swords sharp. It takes a mature football team, and I think our guys recognize that and they're excited about it. And so we're going to use all these 29 opportunities. I know some other colleagues around the country have different views on it. This is where we're at this year, and but not every day is going to be a complete hit fest out there. Guys are too big and too strong if you do that much contact, and so I think it's wise. I think we need to change some of the models, and that's being debated right now. But no two-a-days. But I can tell you as a coach, we start at 6 and we're double repping, and those guys are up in that room right now. We don't leave the room. It's like we're all handcuffed to chairs watching all that tape, and those players are double repping, and that's where we're getting better.
Bring on a new defensive coordinator at Hazleton. Is it exciting to have a guy that you coached with before back on your staff?
Well, yes, it is. Scotty's got a really proven track record, understanding the quote Tampa 2, which sometimes is overused. He spent a couple years at Jacksonville. He was really kind of the architect when we got our defense going at NDSU. Beyond his expertise, he's a taskmaster, and he has the ability to have great dialogue with players, and they know how much he cares about them, which is consistent with all our coaches, but they specifically know how much he cares about them. He's a great communicator. He goes the extra mile as preparing, and so he's excited about being here. He's from Longmont, Colorado. His mom lives right down the road. It was just a couple years ago his father passed away with cancer, and so for him to come back to the Rockies, he's excited and embracing this. And we got to get better on defense. The facts are, if you look at our numbers, I get we had a young defense last year, but these guys are all back. And for us to have a chance for success, long-term success, you need to play great defense, and you need to have good quarterback play. I think we got one answer. Now we got to play better defense, and we're excited about Scotty's leadership. Okay, I've been media trained. If there's a silence pause for 30 seconds, you cut it off because something bad's happening after that. So I've learned to choose my words wisely. I look forward to working with you every week. We appreciate the media. I want to make a point here, is that we need accurate journalism. We need you. We need the stories that you write to do your due diligence. Too much of college football right now, I think, is done in dark rooms over blogs and things like that. You hear all the terms right now, fake news and stuff like that. We have an opportunity in sports to do things special, to write about the story, to write about what's really good about college football. And I know sometimes coaches can have an adversarial relationship with people in the media. That's not healthy. There's going to be mutual trust and mutual respect. You ask me a question, I promise you I will give you an honest answer. It may not be all the answer that you want, but we're going to have mutual respect. And I want to say thanks for being here. I look forward to working with you throughout the year. Like I said, we need accurate, really clear, good journalists. So I applaud you, and thanks for being here today. Thanks a lot, and go Pokes.